Hello. We're going to the following rules recording that I made yesterday. I got cut off, and we're going to pick up where we left off. As some of you probably are aware, SD cards have a approximately 20-minute limitation, and so I kept going for like an hour forgetting about this limitation. So we'll try and cover some of that territory, at least what I can remember, and complete that talk, that last night's talk. So what is freedom? Like, everybody wants to be happy and everybody wants to be free. So, but we all have different concepts of what freedom is and what happiness is. So, and we have different ideas of what discipline is. And most people that are not familiar with philosophy and Buddhist practice and meditation, and when they hear and they get interested in meditation, they find out that it actually entails discipline, and immediately the response is that, wow, well, I enjoy my freedom, and all of these precepts, especially no sexual misconduct and no taking intoxicants, that doesn't seem very appealing. It impinges upon my freedom. I like to, enjoy myself. I mean, the no lying, killing, and stealing maybe is a little bit easier, but no sexual misconduct, taking intoxicants, that's a little difficult. But if we look into it a little differently, we have to understand, put it into the proper context. So basically, for example, in the 1960s, 70s, early 70s and late 60s, when the hippie movement began, it was all about freedom and what freedom is, and free to do what you want, basically. And if we examine what freedom to do what we want is, it's all within the context of the 5 desires for wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep. And so and then there's the mental factors, because we like to indulge in thinking. We like to think about, daydream about things too. So it has to do with what we see, the forms we see, the sounds we hear, the fragrances we smell, the tastes we taste, and the feelings we have with our body. And then our mental indulgences, which are endless and they never stop. And we enjoy fantasizing. Everybody does. So usually freedom, even this kind of freedom, runs amok because we hurt people somehow in our quest for freedom. We hurt others, and then we suffer. So even the people that, forget religious people, just ordinary people that have all the money they want, all the girls they want, all the boys they want, everything that they want, they wind up being miserable. And statistics prove that the highest suicide rate is amongst the wealthy rather than the poor, because they're not happy with all of this freedom. But let's say you are happy. Let's say you're a good guy, a good girl, you take care not to hurt your lovers, make nice clean split-ups when the time comes and nobody gets hurt. You follow good business practices and you don't step on people's toes, and you make lots of money and you have nice cars and houses. And you're basically a cool Dharma Raja or a queen that's benevolent and whatnot. So you've really found freedom. That's what you would think. And you have, in a worldly sense, you know, because you are a decent person, a good person, basically. Gave to charities, you didn't step on others' toes, you maybe were licentious, but you didn't hurt anybody in the process, so you didn't suffer any consequences from causing other people hurting feelings. But you're still operating within a certain boundary fence. The boundary fence, of course, is the sense pleasures and sensations. You know, what we feel, what we see with our eyes, hear, all of these things. The beautiful music, the beautiful sounds of waves crashing on rocks, of birds singing, and the smell of beautiful flowers, and this world is fantastic, no doubt about it. Ask Louis Armstrong. So, we're functioning generally within a certain paradigm. And what the Buddha did was he came along and said, hey, you guys, listen, I found there's actually an awareness that's not supported by the sense faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, or mind. It's just not supported. There's a kind of awareness that is independent, 100% independent of everything you know. And that's freedom. It's operating in a completely different paradigm, not a paradigm of the context we're familiar with. So he's saying, why don't you explore this context? Because you have the ability to explore it. But to explore it, you cannot indulge in your normal ways of behaving and thinking. It's just like the Buddha's like like if a mother sees her child playing with two balls, as long as that child's content playing with two balls or even one ball, kicking it around, and in Nepal they don't even have balls. Up in the mountains they kick around rocks and have a blast. And parents aren't going to get them anything else as long as they're kicking around those rocks. Why not let them? They're happy. So, no need to get them anything else. No need to get them a yak or a donkey or a horse or a cart or some other play toy. Because they're happy with their favorite rock or leaf or whatever it is. Or in the West, if they're happy with their Barbie doll, no need to get them Ken. So, basically, the Buddha is the same way. He says, well, these worldly people are very content in their own scene, so why should I disturb them? But then you have some smartass that comes along and starts thinking like some of the yogis thought. These yogis were really brilliant. We always say, well, the truth is right beneath your nose. Well, these yogis took it literally. Believe it or not, they were geniuses. Like everybody takes the breath for granted, But some yogi, long before us, and long before the Buddha, as a matter of fact, he just, he was in harmony enough with himself and nature that he wondered, I wonder what would happen if I was mindful of my breath, if I kind of labeled it when it was going in and labeled it when it was going out, and just saw how far I could go doing this without getting mixed up, saying I'm breathing in when I'm actually breathing out and stuff like that. And he put his mind to it and did it for a day or a week. And nothing happened, of course, in a day or a week. But this yogi was really persistent, and he tried it for a month and 2 months. And after 4 or 5 months, he's starting not to breathe at all. And he's entering incredibly blissful states. Well, this is the kind of smarts you have to have in order to get anywhere. So the Buddha's not going to pay any attention to you as long as you're content playing within the paradigm of your normal sources of happiness and pleasure and whatnot. Not going to pay any attention to you. But if you're smart like some of these early yogis were, and you say, well, I've got these play toys and I've been a good guy and I've had all of the good times I've they seem good, but in a way I feel kind of like the writing's on the wall before I go to the bar. By the time I get home, I'm wondering what did I do it again for? And in fact, what did I do it? What is this, the 10,000th time? And I've asked myself the same question. So somebody gets a little smart. Well, maybe there's a different paradigm to work in. And so he just starts to explore, and he says, well, maybe there's a way to get, experience something a little different, because I'm functioning within the concept that I'm free within these limits of within the six sense pleasures. But I never thought about maybe there's something more. And God forbid the Buddha and Christ and Muhammad and Krishna and some of these others were actually right, after all. But maybe they were. So I'll toe the mark a little bit and set my sights on a different goal. And so start to explore, change the context of my paradigm. Change my paradigm of thinking. I'll try and find an awareness that's not supported by anything I've ever experienced before. And this is basically what freedom is all about. It's learning how to function free of all previously conceived context. I've got a hot day tonight, I wonder how it's going to end up. I'm going to, go on enter a marathon and hope I win, All of these kind of concepts that we're familiar with, just put them down and see what happens, what is possible, what are the real possibilities. Because what everybody is saying that's explored it is they're saying that you don't need to be supported. Your awareness needs no support at all from anything that you previously conceived of. So it's saying real freedom is working beyond the limits of the six sense pleasures rather than within the limits of the six sense pleasures. So being disciplined seems really unsexy because you think, well, I'm losing my freedom. Well, you're not really losing your freedom. You're putting down a mundane freedom to explore a different kind of freedom that's not even similar to what you've been exploring all along. So you're going on a new journey. And it gets very interesting. When I was a monk, a bhikshu, I remember that one day after meditating about a year, over 12 hours a day, I went to the master one day and I said, Shifu, I meditate all day and I'm so interested in my meditation. I cannot put it down. I'm just so interested. I'm just so absorbed in it. And the fact of the matter is, I don't experience any light, and I don't see any deities, and my breath doesn't stop like it does for yogis, and my heart doesn't stop, and I'm completely aware of what's going on around me, and yet I'm so absorbed, and I can't put my finger on it, Shifu, and been going on months now. And it went on for actually 7.5 years. And he just looked at me, the master Shifu just looked at me and he said, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Don't get attached. That's the way it is. That's it. There is it. There isn't no more than that. And it's really true, So when you discipline yourself, it may be tough going at the beginning because you're in it's like traveling a mountain road or hiking in the mountains and exploring a new area for the first time. When you're unfamiliar with anything, it takes a while. But after a while, you get really absorbed in the practice. And the discipline doesn't even seem like discipline. You forget it completely. You're 100% absorbed in what you're doing. And sometimes, like I have very good friends that can enter breathless samadhi for an hour and a half, 2 hours, they don't even breathe. That's their experience. They have experiences of light and all sorts of heavenly journeys and whatnot. But when it comes to debating, and talking serious Dharma, I can hold my own with them. And I don't have any experiences whatsoever. They call me up and ask me questions. And these are people that sit in samadhi. So there's no thing to look for. When you practice meditation, don't wait and see, oh, am I going to experience some light or anything like that? You might not. You might be like me, not have any experience, but you just love it. Just totally absorbed. That's the nature of the mind. The mind is incredibly entertaining. And it doesn't need any support whatsoever. So as my teacher, I'll close with his words. He just says, turn the light around and illumine within. Amitabha. Hope that you enjoyed